Everyone's been looking at this economic collapse, and they're saying it's all the fault of the bankers and Wall Street, that they made bad loans, made bad business decisions, made decisions that affected our lives, and then took giant bonuses for it when their companies are failing. Yeah, they made bad loans. Yeah. They gave bonuses to guys that, personally, I don't think deserved them. They took their companies, they ran them into the ground. They looked to us to bail them out, and the government did just that. But they were a symptom. They weren't the cause. We live in an energy-driven economy. Once oil started to move up and got to record high prices, some of you guys are forgetting that, you were paying $3, $4 for gasoline and diesel last year. And if you hadn't forgotten, you just kind of pushed that aside because the price of oil has dropped. But what has really changed in this world? We're still fighting in Iraq. We're still fighting in Afghanistan. Chavez in Venezuela still would like to see us overthrown. Africa's still got its wars, its famines. It still has its political upheavals. And it still has its own economic crisis. Not much has really changed. And yet, the price of oil has dropped. Why? For one thing, they can't get anyone to buy the oil for that much money anymore because they can't sell the product. The futures traders driving the price of oil up to record highs, making record profits. That's what started it. Once oil got up to $150 a barrel, we started to find all the chinks in our economic armor, and the system began to collapse. Most of you won't even be able to see why. I don't know the entire thing. I can tell you this. When it starts costing people $200 to fill their car up a week, and they're making just enough to pay their mortgages and feed their families with a few bucks on the side if they're lucky, and the oil hits record prices and gasoline hits record prices, then you start seeing people looking over and going, well, what can we cut out? So they stop going to the movies, for one. They stop eating lunches out. They start brown bagging it. They stop buying coffee. But this isn't enough. So they start using their credit cards to pay off their bills and get sucked in even deeper. Then the people at Wall Street start to get panicky. The banks start to get panicky because they aren't getting the money for the loans that they've made. People are extended beyond their credit limits, and they start losing their homes. People who are in business can't afford to run 15, 20, 30, 100 company vehicles. And the only way to cut costs that they can see is by laying people off. The more people are laid off, The more loans that aren't being paid, the more foreclosures that go on, the less time being spent on the job and more time spent in the unemployment lines. Unemployment isn't enough to feed your family and pay your bills. We all know that. It helps, but it was never meant as something to help pay to pay all the bills. It was meant as a stopgap to help you. This whole thing started when the energy traders started getting greedy. We're an energy-based society. Everything you do, everything you eat, everywhere you go, any place you go for entertainment, is all based on the need for inexpensive energy. If we continue to ignore this facet of our economy and only go after the big bailout for the Wall Streeters and for the banks, then we're doomed to find this happening to us again. When the oil embargo happened, the government said, oh, we're going to look at alternative energies. This one happened again. No, we didn't get an oil embargo. What we got was high-priced oil, which gave about the same thing. I can understand that people don't want to drill for oil on the outer shelves. But if we don't drill there, if we don't give access to our own oil, we're going to be doomed to sending money out of the country, which needs to be here. Inexpensive energy is what's going to pull us out of this economic doldrum that we're in now. And until the government turns around and starts investing money into inexpensive energy for our country, we are going to be at the mercy of other countries who supply us this oil, who supply us our energy. It's time we started looking at stopgap measures to get the ball rolling. Coal, oil from our own country, solar, wind power, and especially geothermal. If we do this, we can start the economy moving again. This will create jobs to build these plants. It'll create jobs to get the wires to the homes. All phases, not just electricians. Because when you build a power plant, you need carpenters, you need steel workers, you need masons, you need drywallers, painters, electricians, electronic technicians, you need pipe fitters, you need insulators, you need air conditioning techs, an entire range of people. It's time we stop bailing out the banks and Wall Street and start bailing out the people by getting them the inexpensive form of energy so that we can build, so that we can produce, so we can manufacture. I'd like your comment on this video. Thank you very much for listening to me. I know it's long.